Hello, I'm Nilton Miranda. I'm your English teacher, and today we are going to cover the lessons and classes from this week, March 23rd, and last week. In this moment, in this session, we are going to cover the topics about present simple tense and how it works, what are the different changes, uses, and also the forms that the present simple has. For example, affirmative, negative, and questions. I hope you have reviewed first the previous video about routines. That's a good vocabulary, very related with this topic, and it's very useful for you to review that topic because you are going to learn also pronunciation and vocabulary. Now we are going to cover only grammar and practice. Okay, so let's start. What's present simple and what are you going to learn here? In this unit or lesson, you, my students, are going to practice present simple affirmative, also negative and interrogative. That means that you are going to learn how to make questions, yes, no questions, and information questions with the present simple. Not only talking about the verb to be, but with many other verbs and situations as the routines. You are going to cover also short answers. Now, I want you to learn at the end of this unit to talk about your everyday activities or routines, and not only yours, but also talk about the routines of anybody else. For example, your father, your friends, your siblings, and also you can learn how to ask and answer questions and talk about other people's habits. So let's start. To begin, we are going to have a short routine. It's an example about the routine, and pay attention how it is written. Pay attention how the sentences are connected and also the examples. You can use this as a sample or a how like an example of how you can write your own routine. I hope that when we finish this unit, you can tell me your own routine with your own words because everybody doesn't do the same. Okay, so let's start. Read, please, and listen. In the morning, I get up at 5:30 and I have breakfast with my parents and my younger sister, Paola. I like arepa, eggs, and coffee, but my sister likes cereal and juice. My parents don't like cereal. They drink coffee with milk and eat toast with butter. I ride my motorcycle to work, but my father goes by bus. My mother works at home. She's a housewife. My little sister goes to university by car. In the afternoons, we do different activities, but my sister goes to art classes and plays volleyball. We get home and help my mother with some chores. I clean the rooms and my sister washes the dishes. My father doesn't work at home. In the evenings, we watch TV, play games, and talk about our day. My sister and I go to bed at 10:15. So, as you could see in these examples, we are talking about routines, but not only the routines of the person who wrote this article. It's also about what other people habits and what they do. You can see also how are every piece of information written. For example, every sentence has a subject, an action, watch TV, play games, help, go to classes, and then a complement. What kind of classes? Art classes, plays, playing volleyball. So we can have different sentences and we can so use connect we can also use connectors like and or but that you need to learn but just by reading you can learn those expressions. And take this as an example where you can learn how to write and try to write your own routine at the end of this class. But let's continue. Let's start with present simple affirmative. What is the present simple affirmative? Remember, the present simple is the tense. In Spanish, el tiempo, that we use to express routines and permanent situations. Be careful with this, because you use present simple only to talk about your routines, what you do every day, every moment. For example, going to classes, that's a routine. So we go to classes every day. For example, eating dinner or having lunch, those are routines. We have lunch at 12 o'clock, for example, or I eat lunch at 1 o'clock. That's a permanent situation. That means that I do the same activity at the same moment or time every day. And also permanent situations, as where do you live? Do you remember that question? When we ask where do you live, you are telling a permanent situation. For example, I live in Ciudad Caribe. I live because it's a permanent situation. That's present simple affirmative. Now, when it is expressed in affirmative form, the verb confirms that something about you is true, about you that who are the subject. In present simple affirmative, we need to remember that we have always at the beginning, first, the subject, I, you, he, she, it, or a proper noun like Maria, Nilton, Kevin, Alex. So, first, the subject, the person. Then, in second position, you need the action, the verb. In this case, in the example, is read. I read, you read. But notice that in the third person, he, she, and it, we need to add the s to the action. For example, I read, you read, he reads books. That's a rule for this tense. Now, we normally add the s to the third person. What's the third person when you are talking about he, she, or it? Because remember, I, the speaker, I am the first person. You, the listener, you are the second person. But the third person is the person or object that you and me are talking about. So first, you are the second, and the third is the other. The third person is he, or she, or it. And in English, we have different uh, rules about adding the s to the third person. For example, most of the English verbs just need to add the s. For example, I speak, hablar, I speak, she speaks, I play, he plays, I give, it gives, I make, she makes. Only the s in the third person. Remember, third person when you are talking about he or she. Now, that's the most of the English verbs follow this rule. But there are some exceptions, and we're to cover that in the next columns. Now, if the verb ends in double s, x, ch, sh, or the letter o, we add es in the third person. For example, the verb kiss. I kiss, she kisses. Fix, reparar, repair. So I fix my motorcycle. My mechanic fixes the engine. My mechanic fixes the engine. Watch, watches. Crash, crashes. Go, goes. Remember, we need to add es in the third person with those verbs that finishes in s, x, ch, sh, or o because of pronunciation reasons. It's difficult to say watch. So it's watches. Now, the next exception is if the verb ends in a consonant plus y. We remove the y and we add ies in the third person. For example, carry. Carry means llevar. I carry my laptop to class. But my boss carries her laptop to class. Carry carries. Hurry hurries. Study studies. Deny denies. You need to change or replace the y into ies in the third person when you are talking about he or she, but only if before the y there is a consonant. For example, in carry there is an ry, so you replace I. It doesn't happen like in the first column with play, because in play before the y there is an a, play, a. Okay. Now, the last change or the last exception is the verb have. Is almost the only irregular verb in the present simple. Have doesn't change with the es, ies, etc., or just adding the s. You need to change have by has. I have three siblings: David, Paola, and Wendy. But my mother, she has 10 siblings. She has 10 siblings. When you are talking about what he or she have, we use has. Okay? Now, it's time to practice. Look at these examples. Look at these sentences. And you have two options. In every option, according to the previous section, for explanation, you need to select, circle, choose which one is the correct option. Number one is done for you. Number one, Javier plays or plays soccer. And you remember, like play has a vowel, una vocal, before Y, you just add the S. So Javier plays. Plays is the correct option. You need to complete the next options in 2, 3, 4, and 5 and choose the correct one. Complete the exercise and let's continue. Answer the following questions.